fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going with the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get involved.
Section's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go.
Oh no!
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
Are you new to sim racing, or maybe a veteran struggling to reach the next level? Have you ever wondered how the aliens reach impressive lap times that seem impossible to achieve? If so, you're not alone. Most drivers reach a certain level and get stuck. But getting faster on track is easier than you think. VRS coaches are some of the best sim racers in the world and offer one-on-one driver skills training at affordable rates to help new drivers learn the basics and help experienced drivers break through to the next level. Are you ready to get faster and get off the iRacing roller coaster? If so, VRS one-on-one personal training is for you. If you've invested in your equipment, it might be time to invest in yourself. Just go to virtualracingschool.com and sign up for a 30, 60 or 90-minute session with one of our world-class coaches, and you'll learn exactly what to do for faster lap times and more podiums.
Welcome to Xtreem GT4 and welcome to SimSpeed tonight, 60-minute enduro round from Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. We've had such exciting racing in this league so far across the first two rounds at Monza and Barcelona. We come to another high-speed slipstreaming track here, very well known and some very famous corners, and always home to some good racing. That is what is before us tonight in Xtreem GT4 round 3. I'm David Haynes, joined by Nick Skariev. And Nick, I mean, what can we say about the racing we've seen and the track we now find ourselves at tonight? I'm very excited.
Yeah, that's it there. Dave, thank you for having me as well. Great having Fonty there out on the cameras and on production today. So really big track here, and it's such a cool little spot. Having Spa as an enduro circuit, really, really long circuit, and one that many of the drivers are familiar with.
Indeed, famous shape, famous corners, famous place to go racing very, very fast up the hill at Eau Rouge Radion, and a long run on the Kemmel Straight is going to mean some of the key overtaking is going to happen at the end there in towards Lacombe, Melmedy, that section. Of course, very loaded, very aggressive on the tyres through the middle sector, through fast corners like Pouan and La Fagne, and then back around towards Blanchimont and bus stop chicane, also a place that can see a lot of overtaking transpire. Of course, here in Xtreem GT4, we've got all three of the possible GT4 models on show, and we've seen from round 1 and from round 2 the different strengths across different phases of the stint and different types of corners that we see between the BMW M4 GT4, the McLaren 570S, and of course the relatively competitive, dare I say dominant, Porsche Cayman. So what will Spa do in that mix of those three models? We're going to find out as they're about to go and set the grid in qualifying, which will then decide how things line up for a 60-minute race. It's going to have some compulsory pit stop action going on as well, so there will be strategy as well as that slipstream battling here tonight. Key drivers I think we had to watch have always been Jack Boyd, Brenton Hobson, and then we've seen some of the McLarens be strong up the front there. Wayne Losh has got a couple fans as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is good seeing a few names that maybe we haven't seen too much of. We have seen a bit of Bard Rodkin as well. Just having a look at that timing screen as well. So probably some really new names that we haven't seen in this series would be drivers such as Damon Mulqueen and Sonny Canchin as well. Sonny Canchin really, really quick there for a lot of our opening rounds. Actually, we not really just around the corner, not really a suburb over there, but we were in at Catalunya last week there, and Sonny Canchin just not as strong as what we've seen him in the past.
Definitely finds a lot of speed. He's one of the drivers with the Porsche Cayman, and so I think we've talked about this in past. A driver very, very experienced with the Mazda MX-5. You don't see him racing a whole lot of GT4, and I think he's still finding his grips in his feet with how this car races. I've definitely seen a lot of the raw talent underlying. It's just how competitive the grid has been, how tough it's been for everyone to just try to be consistent across the race formats and the race distances we've had. That's always what this sort of sports car racing comes down to, is not only, you know, who's got the fastest single lap, but who is close to it and consistent to it across a race distance. And obviously what Sonny Kanchan is going for right now is a little bit of that tire temperature on the outlap before he comes to start his first flying lap. How important have those cold tires been on race starts and in qualifying?
Yeah, absolutely. He's super important there. We are going to see him come around for his first lap as well, but definitely in Spa in particular. So that 7 kilometer circuit, you can't really mess about. You really need to get a clean out lap and get both your qualifying laps in pretty clean as well. There's not really much chance for error. It's not really something that you can either brush the wall, jump back in the pits, grab that tow hook, and then head back out again. It's really all in one shot there. So we are just catching the same position here at the moment. Michael was saying definitely big hitters tonight, and a lot of them from doing a bit of the MX-5 work as well.
One thing he's going to have to be careful with having just 2 qualifying laps is some of the track limits around here at Spa. It was all good through Eau Rouge on there. You can find yourself, Malmedy here, running a little bit wide if you're not careful. Same can be true at Blanchimont and at Pouon and other places around the track here. You've got to be mindful of how close you push to those track limits. Lee Harrison just leaving the pit lane right now. I don't think he's going to get 2 laps in this session.
No, it seems to be the curse of the admin continues there. Lee Harrison having an absolute disaster of in Catalonia last week. Didn't even make the start-finish line without an incident. So he was starting from the very back of the grid, and unfortunately having a nose-to-tail incident with another car. He's hoping to do a little bit better luck-wise, but yeah, he's going to be starting on the back foot, starting out of the pit so late there. Another person there, Moz Moroz, was definitely in the mix last week as well, so expecting to see pretty big things from him there in the McLaren. Hopefully, I do think this circuit might hopefully lend itself a little bit more to that BMW and the McLaren to try and bring that balance of parity up.
Did have in race number 2 last round, BMW take its first overall victory with Brenton Hobson, but it was really as much a victory on strategy and tactics with a very early pit stop and a very quick pit stop and staying out of traffic than it was the BMW really having the pace there. We saw in the closing laps just how quickly Jack Boyd started coming back at this man Brenton Hobson, and he's just about to complete a lap there, I think, but you saw him really setting up the drive off the final corner there to make sure that this is going to be his best lap if he can. Jack Boyd's currently at the top of the timing, and he'll get one more lap, so a 2:28.8, twisting several decimal places there, put him ahead of Mulqueen and Kanchan currently in 3rd.
Yeah, absolutely. There you can see Mosmeroz just outside the top 3 as well as Andrew Hobby. So Andrew Hobby we didn't see last week there, but he's definitely out there rocking the Porsche at the moment. Damien Mulqueen as well, pulling the pin. One and done for him, so he had a bit of bad luck. Unfortunately, getting I think it was an incident there with Ashley Norman from one of the chicken up cars there as well, so he'll be after a bit of redemption as well. Andrew Hobby on board at the moment, so not normally rocking his flight centre livery, as we've all come to be quite familiar with. He's gone ahead with the Caltex this time around.
In the Cayman, the car just hasn't quite gotten to one of the apexes he wanted. It's wide at the other, and he catches a little bit of grass, and that's going to be his qualifying done. Obviously, pushing really hard there at that point to go in deep at the end of the long Camel Straight. And mistake is going to bring his qualifying to an end. Did he previously?
Yeah, it does
Oh,
look
so
like
currently, yeah, 6th at the minute, but he's not going to have a chance to improve, which quite a few other drivers are. Particularly, you look at Glenn Boyd and Damien Seeger and Wayne Losh are only within about half a second behind him as the qualifying stands at the moment. And we know half a second is not much around a big lap like this.
Yeah, and I was actually just casting our eyes there on the timing screen as well. So you did mention before about those track limits as well. Brendan Hobson has done one lap though, did not get registered there at the moment. So he'll be wanting to get closer to that front of the field there. Hopefully alongside his teammate there of Damon Mulqueen. Just having a little bit further back there at Wayne Losh as well. So he's sitting not too bad. It'd be good to get a bit of a top 10 result there in qualifying. That'll put him right in the mix. Good thing with the GD4s as well. Not the standing start, so we do go with behind the safety car and get one of those rolling starts happen. Looks right at home here at Spa.
Absolutely. Wayne Losh to the line and a little bit of an improvement up into 7th overall there. A handful of other drivers have come through and completed their second laps. Brenton Hobson to the top there. Nick Wood also improving. Jack Boyd, I think, didn't get his lap counted there from the best I can tell there. So, bit of an upset in qualifying maybe almost, as that is no more improvement for Jack Boyd. Hobson and Nick Wood definitely going to start in front of him. A couple of other drivers still out here on track that have time with 2 minutes left in this session to set another lap. I think Lee Harrison is going to set his one and only lap. Jesse White-Carrick maybe getting a little cheeky with some of the track limits at that section there. Have to brush up exactly on the rules, but Lee Harrison, this is his one and only opportunity to not start from right at the back.
Yeah, absolutely. There, we saw how unlucky it was starting from the back last week and really trying to keep a clean nose there when you're at the back of the field. Everyone gets a bit fighty there on the brakes, and especially that they've got to go through that chicane section onto the straight, as well as that huge tight corner there of La Source. So they'll see Lee hard on the brakes here. You can see how he really squares off that chicane here through the right and the left. Lands a foot here, so very short run there to the start-finish straight. We'll see if that is an improvement of 2:29.5. So that does put him into 7th place.
Yeah, relatively tidy from all that we saw there, and he's still definitely trying to attack the track in places, and that's going to put him into 7th, and he's about to park it because he knows there's only 40 seconds left in this session and no time to improve. Hobson, is he going to get another lap here? I think he might just. Yeah, time on the clock still there. I don't think anyone's going to be able to take pole away from him, but if he's really strong here, nope. Practicing the pit entry potentially. Still looking aggressive through that final sector. There is going to be at least one pit stop in the race coming up, so good to practice that pit entry. I've seen a couple drivers manage to collect the wall on that pit entry before. It is quite narrow.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can see as well the Spa sometimes gets a little bit confusing there with the dual pit lanes, but I do believe we'll be using the very first one.
It looks like the endurance layout, which is the full pit lane, and that would go alongside with seeing the drivers exit pit lane up to the Eau Rouge exit, not the F1 exit. Lock in the starting grid, and 5-minute warm-up session between qualifying and the race. Some reason that is, I guess, going to give those drivers a chance to relax after qualifying before we head into the race, but maybe we'll reflect on that qualifying session for a quick second, though, because it did seem like the track limits proved difficult to some out there. I think I saw Jack Boyd set a lap time that would have put him on pole by a 10th, but was not allowed because of track limits. So that that lap time invalidated, putting him back onto the second row, while the BMWs, sometimes wearing out their tires on the longer runs in the races, able to steal pole position. Brenton Hobson, Synergy Sim Racing, pole. Damon Mulqueen on the third row in fifth. We'll take another really quick break here on SimSpeed TV for Xtreem GT4. When we come back, they are ready, qualified, ready to go for the race. Of course, our supporters here for Xtreem GT4, Xtreem Air Conditioning, Palmer's, Racelabs, Simworx Race Simulators, Wolfchester and Duo Trading. Back in a minute here on SimSpeed TV.
Are you taking a photo?
And we're back, getting ready for Xtreem GT4 endurance round here at Spa-Francorchamps. Interesting qualifying where not every driver had their 2 clean laps. Not every driver got 2 laps. And so the grid we have is going to be very, very entertaining when they drop the green flag and we go racing for 60 minutes. This is how they are going to line up for the rolling start. Front row is going to be Brenton Hobson in the BMW M4, Nick Wood in the Porsche Cayman. Showed a lot of speed at Barcelona. Don't think quite got the results to go with it, including some spins on outlaps on cold tires in the racing conditions there as well. Just going to show that that Porsche Cayman can be very quick, but also difficult on cold tires, which is what he's going to have for the race start in a moment. Jack Boyd could have qualified on pole with the pace that he had, but his fastest lap was disallowed. That puts him on the second row alongside the highest placed McLaren of Mosmoroz. Damon Mulqueen and Sonny Kanchan for row number 3 there in 5th and 6th places. Got Lee Harrison, whose one qualifying lap was good enough to put him there on row 4 alongside Wayne Losh, Damien Seeger and Glenn Boyd. Got Andrew Hobby and Mark Foster for row 6.
Yeah, just in 13th place, Anthony Connors in the McLaren with Greg Holmes. Quite a few McLarens there as well, with Jesse White-Carrick there in 15th place. Bard Rodkin in the BMW with Ashley Norman and Graham Ellis there on row 9 there.
Yeah. So, a couple of cars without qualifying times, but some good mixture of the different GT4 models throughout, particularly the top of the grid there. Must be said that drivers are competing for points against sort of in class BMW versus BMW, McLaren versus McLaren, Porsche versus Porsche, but it is always so entertaining to see them mix it up for overall glory as well, like we're going to see with Brenton Hobson alongside Nick Wood, and then Jack Boyd here in white is going to be a very quick starter. Everyone's got to be careful on cold tyres, especially the Porsche Caymans though, given their desire to rotate very freely on cold tyres. Pace car is going to pull in. Brenton Hobson on the endurance layout here will have to decide when he goes, because the green flag's going to wave on the other side of La Source, but I think he's already gone, so a whole straight away early. We get racing 60 minutes of Spa-Francorchamps in Xtreem GT4. Hobson defending the inside. Nick Wood still holding it side by side around the outside. I think they've actually still waiting on the green flag. Now, Nick Wood is right with him. A good jump from Jack Boyd. Damon Mulqueen also advancing at the expense of Los Moros, and they're going to have to go single file through Eau Rouge Radion for the first time, bouncing across the curbs. The BMW doesn't want to turn. The Porsches really want to turn. Everyone's got to be careful until they start building more tyre temperature, and onto the Camel Straight, into the slipstream for the first time we go.
Yeah, everyone away there through a bit cleanly. I kind of like everyone, I was holding my breath a little bit as they come through on Rouge, because it's always, you never really know on cold tyres when people get unsettled. So we're just seeing the lot come out of there, out of those combs here at the moment. All pretty cleanly at the moment there. Brenton Hobson, just a little bit of a gap there to Nick Wood. You see there Jack Boyd right under the rear wing there of Nick Wood and that other Porsche.
Super close racing up the front still, and Mulqueen managed to stay ahead of Moroz even though they went side by side down the Camel Straight. That was one of the positions I thought was going to maybe swap again. Somehow better on the brakes for Mulqueen, and he stays in touch with the leaders, which is going to be absolutely critical come towards pit stops and the slipstream, how strong and how powerful it can be up front here. You can see Nick Wood's gone from pressuring Brenton Hobson to really starting to feel under attack from Jack Boyd. One of his strengths has been pace on the cold tyres. Towards the back here, 15th and 16th places. Rick Holmes, Ashley Norman. Norman, one of the drivers with no qualifying time, I think I recall, is already starting to move forward where he can. And that's a bit of a mistake there, running wide maybe from Nick Wood. Not a lot of speed here, but he's going to hold the inside towards Blanchimont, and they're going to go side by side, second and third. Brenton Hobson, you can see out front, always trying to stretch away. Nick Wood, I think, rolls out of it, gives second place to Jack Boyd, who's now on the hunt towards the lead.
Yeah, absolutely there. It just seems that Nick Wood may be pushing Leo Harrison there, taking a bit more curve than probably what he was expecting, but you have to say that Nick Wood maybe just slightly overdriving the car there. He did understeer quite badly in a few of those, especially those slower chicane corners as well there. So just seeing them all in a line here at the moment. Haven't seen too many movers and shakers there. I think Andrew Hobby, taking up the most amount of positions there with 2 places up there, and Wayne Losh unfortunately losing 3.
So on to lap 2 we go. Hobson still leading, but Jack Boyd now starting to mount that charge. Track limits abuse at the top of Eau Rouge and Radion, and I wonder if anyone's gone far enough to pick up a slowdown. I think Lee Harrison has, and he is giving up many positions and a lot of time down the Camel Straight. Don't think he's alone, because Hobby is going to have to do exactly the same. You saw how much they managed to exploit the top of the track there. And Ashley Norman doing likewise as well. Everyone getting a little bit too greedy there. Say everyone, but I mean quite a few drivers falling into a very easy trap around this track. Not Brenton Hobson, not Jack Boyd, not Nick Wood though, as they continue to be our top 3. Moros past Mulqueen into 4th. Mulqueen still sitting there in 5th. This is where we might start to see the other cars come into their own relative to the BMW.
Yeah, you'd have to say as well, on this high-speed circuit, everyone's really just trying to sit in under the car in front there and just really work that toe there as well. So knowing that it is a 24 lap race, which is just under an hour and a half, just trying to conserve that fuel a bit there and just trying to keep in touch with that car in front. We're just looking definitely one, unfortunately, not keeping in front as much. Lee Harrison there, you see Andrew Hobby just in behind as well. So both of those losing quite a lot of time there. Andrew Hobby having to pull over twice there to give up that time penalty from that track limit there. Just as I said that, super wide again. I think he might have just been safe that time as well, but you can see right there on the back of Mark Foster.
Yep, Hobby on Mark Foster, on Anthony Connors, Lee Harrison just in front of them now as well, and that's a problem and potentially damage. Ashley Norman facing the wrong way, now facing the right way. Did he make contact with the wall? I'm thinking he might have. The front left doesn't look as it should to my eyes. We're going to get VRS replay and take a look at it. Oh, no, that's a while away from the wall and a while away from any other cars.
Yeah, very unfortunate there. So we are going to have a bit of an onboard look there. You just see, I think that is Jesse White carrying just in front there as well. And almost just completely on his own there. Maybe being in that draft might have unsettled it a bit. Very lucky as well there. I think that was the car there. I think it was Bard Rodkin in the BMW just coming past. So thankfully no incidents.
Gap down to 4/10 at the lead, but that BMW is difficult to pass down the Kemmel Straight. Really, with the turbocharged motor, just keeps pulling all the way when the Cayman starts to stall out with a relatively tall 6th gear. Wood still in touching distance of the slipstream there as well, but Moroz was looking very strong to my eye. McLaren pulling well down the straight as well. Again, another turbocharged engine. Now here's a Hobby looking down the inside of Mark Foster at Rivage, and it's going to work.
Yeah, just hearing as well, another slowdown as well. So just seeing cars everywhere at the moment, just really trying to push up against those track limits. So we know for them that they'll have to rein it in just that little bit there. Two drivers are keeping it in very, very tight here. Jack Boyd right on the rear bar there of Hobson as well, just maintaining around that 0.3 of a second there at the moment. You can actually see just in behind, they've broken out about a second or so to Nick Wood. So Nick Wood is be able to feel the draft. You can actually kind of see around that big rear score there. Just if Nick Wood falls back any further at all, he's actually going to miss out on that draft.
Exactly, that's critical for him in the battle he's trying to have with Moroz and Damon Mulqueen. Is, you know, if he can stay with the leaders, he's a little bit protected from the challenge behind, but once he starts dropping back, then they're going to be slipstreaming back at him. Here's Hobby trying to take another spot. Very bold around the outside of Blanchimont, sweeps through, collects a lot of curb, and is going to run off wide, but that might be an incident point, but it's not going to be a slowdown, so he ought to hold on to that position. It's a three-way fight in towards the final corner. Carries on. Did feel like the middle sector is one of the stronger places for the Cayman, and that's where Jack Boyd can close up on Brenton Hobson. I wonder what it looks like down the slipstream of the Kemmel Straight. Cayman seems to have good, power to weight and pulls well initially out of the corners, but that 6th gear is just a little too tall, and it's a very wide power band for the BMW that sees it just come on strong towards the end of these straights.
Yeah, you can see there normally in a single class race there you would think that Jack Boyd would be pulling him in there, but you can actually see that gap is being maintained. So BMW actually showing having a bit better luck here in that balance of parity between. I'm sure that once we get to some of the tighter courses later on in the season, it won't be so much the case here. We are looking back here at one of the McLarens, I think that is Lee Harrison there, right on the back of another McLaren. Yeah, of Damien Seeger, which we haven't seen too much of. Damien Seeger running really, really wide there. That's actually going to check up Lee Harrison, trying to get around this this trio.
So Glenn Boyd gaining some spots, I think, here. Seeger, Losh, and Harrison behind was starting to struggle a little bit. We know Lee Harrison, not quite the qualifying he wanted, also had that big slowdown that dropped him well into the pack, trying to make good on it. An unconventional place to try to overtake at Lafanya here. It happens, but it's not the bus stop, and it's not the end of the Kemmel Straight, so he is going to just wait around on this one. And I wonder if we're starting to see some tactics around the fuel strategy and the pit stop strategy start to come in, because we've seen no pit stops from anyone yet in this race. But being a longer race, fuel drop and the fuel time could end up being important. So close at the lead of the race here. Jack Boyd, strong through the middle sector, is right to the rear bumper of Brenton Hobson. He's been very strong on the brakes at some other tracks as well, so is he going to take his opportunity at the bus stop? He's not. Still right with Hobson. I think this is letting everyone else get closer as well. Have you seen Wood or Moroz or Mulqueen this close to the lead in the last couple laps? Don't think so.
Yeah, absolutely there. So we did see that gap was about out to a second there between Jack Boyd there and Nick Wood. It has halved to about 0.5 of a second. So it is actually going to put a bit more pressure there. Jack Boyd really looking forward there in this race towards Brendan Hobson. Now need to start looking at
Different lines in, shallower approach from Moroz, good exit. He's got a lot of speed right in behind Nick Wood. Nick Wood goes to the inside defensively, but what that does is it lets Moroz jump into the slipstream of Jack Boyd. Nick Wood's out in the cold, and you might see Moroz come through into third here, and he will. So good run off Eau Rouge, so important to get him up into a podium place right now.
Yeah, we did see Moroz in Catalunya qualifying really well, but just not having that race pace, but definitely right on the pace here at the moment. If you cast our eyes at some of the laps, last lap, both him and Nick Wood actually half a second faster there than Brenton Hobson and Jack Boyd. So maybe you have to say there, Hobson had a little bit of a mistake there, checked those front two up here. So you can actually see that consistency for Nick Wood there between lap 3 and lap 4 there, inseparable there. And then you can see Moroz well into the 28s on lap 2 and lap 3. You can actually see a little bit different there. Moroz actually getting faster as the race has progressed there, with Nick Wood just a little bit slower there at the start, maybe cold tyres.
Hobson leading every lap so far, just fading a tiny bit in pace by this measurement. Pretty consistent though. He's had no slipstream. He's been the leader all the time. You might see the effect of the front tyres starting to go a little bit for Hobson. For Bart Rodkin, he's closing in on Ashley Norman after the spin we saw for Norman. So from the front to the back of the grid, everything pretty close. Lee Harrison's going to grab another spot here. He's gotten ahead of Wayne Losh. Now he's got to look his eyes forwards to Seeger and Glenn Boyd. 4-way battle here over 7th. 5-way battle for the lead. And what you've got is Sonny Canchin in a little bit of no man's land between both of these. Pretty consistent, but not able to get onto the slipstream of the leaders. You can just see him in red up the front of that shot. Well clear of Glenn Boyd in the pack behind, trying everything to get onto the slipstream of Mulqueen, who's then on the slipstream all the way forward to your leader, Brenton Hobson. Jack Boyd right up underneath him though at Eau Rouge Radion, looking for a good run, looking for the best draft he can get all the way down here. And do you know what? It's another good run from Moroz as well. We're going to see an attack. No attack from Jack Boyd. Moroz looking down the inside. They are briefly 3 lanes across, and Moroz backs out of it. Boyd not as strong on the brakes. Hobson still holds on to the lead despite a great run at him from 2 other drivers.
Yeah, I'd have to say there for Boyd, probably wasn't so much going for the pass, but was just trying to keep Moroz behind. You can tell Boyd, very mature racer, and he's very much thinking about the win and on strategy as well. And he knows that it's not too important track position here at the moment. Obviously, being in that front group is going to be the best advantage that he could get, but does not need to get past there Hobson at the moment. He can just sit in behind and just milliliters by milliliters just save that fuel.
Well, this is for the lead. And again, I think Jack Boyd almost playing rear gunner at the moment. He's had the opportunity to try to make a dive here, and he hasn't done it. Several corners now. So Hobson leads with Jack Boyd right behind, but the longer this goes on, it keeps Moroz and Nick Wood right in touch, right with the leaders. Queen struggling to go with the leading 4 at the moment, but whenever the pack is this close, it means every second on pit lane becomes very, very important. And again, Boyd gets close and just rolls out of it. He's got a fly on the face.
There we go. So we're actually just having a look, talking about Boyd's there as well. So we're just seeing Glenn Boyd.
They went side by side into the bus stop there. The inside for the first apex is outside for the second apex. Hobson just holds on, but now towards La Source, Jack Boyd is down the inside, and he is looking, and if he doesn't, his other drivers lining up behind. Mulqueen even getting a little bit closer, and into the lead, I think, goes Jack Boyd cleanly. What's the straight line speed of the BMW going to be like to counter-attack? And it's also looked like a very strong section of the track for the McLaren 570S. Moroz has been really quick up the hill and then down the straight.
I have to say there, the patience for Jack Boyd, maybe wearing a little bit thin there, was quite happy sitting in, but you can see both there, Arthur Moroz there and Nick Wood keen to at least, even if they don't try and win the race outright, might be a little bit keen there to try and lead a few of the laps as well. So you're going to see these top four bunched up really, really tight. I think quite interesting to see there if Hobson has a counter-attack.
Well, he had the momentum, he had the run, and he didn't. He just waited right behind Jack Boyd. Moroz wasn't quite close enough to then, you know, join and spoil the party. Let Nick Wood stay close, and it has caught Damon Mulqueen back onto the train as well. 5 cars within 1.6 seconds for the lead. I think bodes very well for keeping the strategy interesting towards the pit stops as well.
So just having a look there of Moroz. Gee, that McLaren just looks fantastic as in the countryside. it's such a cool color as well, the that black there with the red as well. So such a series, I reckon, than compared to the MX-5s. I think I've seen enough MX-5s to last a lifetime, so it's very cool seeing these GT4 cars out and about.
So that's our top 5. We've got Sonny Canchin in the no man's land. You've got Lee Harrison, who's broken free of the pack he was battling with. Glenn Boyd still got to worry about Damien Seager, Wayne Losh, and Andrew Hobby right in there as well. He's been on a yo-yo string this race as well, it seems. Struggling to not pick up those slow-down penalties, but then when he avoids them, obviously very quick.
Yeah, and that's exactly right there. I think it was by lap 1 or 2.
Maybe the first driver we'll see go to pit lane. That's very interesting for Andrew Hobby. What's he going to do? It is, of course, the endurance pit lane here. He's going to have to drive all the way through these Grand Prix pits and around towards the endurance side of the pit lane. If that's for example, a black flag for not giving up a slowdown penalty, it's going to be incredibly painful. If that's for a scheduled pit stop, then what is he going to be able to do getting a jump on the guys he was racing with? Brenton Hobson's going to use the slipstream and the BMW power to get the jump on Jack Boyd, and we have another change for the lead.
Yeah, Hobson absolutely breezing past there of Jack Boyd, but sorry, as you were saying there as well, so Andrew Hobby potentially might be trying to go for that undercut there at the moment. You'd have to say there. Seconds-wise, he's quite far back there. He's anywhere up to about a minute behind the leaders here at the moment. You can actually see him park up, so up on the jack, so he is looking at taking tyres and a bit of fuel, I would say.
55 seconds trundling on the pit lane limiter before he found his garage, and you can see that for our pole sitter Brenton Hobson, he's going to have even further to go to his crew, a couple more spots further up. 23 seconds for Hobby, so the compulsory tyre change happening there, and would reckon also a little bit of fuel.
Yeah, and that should be enough to take him all the way to the end there. I don't think there is any fuel cap restrictions there as well. Cold tyres, trying to keep within those white lines as he rejoins, as you were saying there, on that endurance pit exit there. So he's going to be all the way down the back. It's going to be a bit of a lonely race there, but a nice clear track, so he'll be really able to focus on back onto maybe a few of the other cars that he's trying to follow.
Defensive line from Brendan Hobson towards the bus stop leaves. One Porsche came in width around the outside for Jack Boyd. It's not going to be enough. Neither of them are... No one in our top 5 going for pit lane to react to what Andrew Hobby did. Wouldn't necessarily be required. Going side by side is given a poor run to Jack Boyd, and now Moroz is up into second, and we've seen just coming into a sector where the McLaren and he have looked very strong together. So if he can just hold off Jack Boyd and get another good run up the hill, Brendan Hobson might yet still be vulnerable in the lead as well. Your top 5 all in one shot as we've passed the first about third of the race distance. The part where typically Moroz has been strong, but he's still got Jack Boyd glued to his rear bumper. It's tough to defend in a pack here because look, Moroz goes to the right-hand side of the track. That's going to defend the inside, but it gives Jack Boyd the ability to pick up the slipstream, and they're exactly level as they come in towards the brakes. Jack Boyd around the outside, I think is just going to squeeze himself back into second.
Jack Boyd absolutely flexing those talents there over Moz Moroz, so hanging it around the outside, but you can actually see even in that split second, it's actually given 9/10 of a lead there to Brenton Hobson, so Hobson just having a bit of a buffer here at the moment. I have to say there for Andrew Hobby as well, not in that championship race here, so he's able to take maybe a few extreme different levels of strategy. He's not really needing to pick with the rest of them. He can take a bit of a gamble.
Top 5 is going to be very interesting once strategy comes home to roost on the way that they're battling. Sonny Kanchan still can see the top 5 everywhere he goes, every little straight. He'll come out of a corner and he can still see the back of Damon Mulqueen, but what he hasn't been able to do is make any progress really on that gap. Despite the battling that we've started to see erupt in the top 5, still 3.5 to 4 seconds away from Mulqueen, which means 2.5 to 3 seconds away from picking up any assistance with the slipstream.
You actually see that as well. Boyd getting around Moroz has actually put Moroz kind of back in the clutches there of Nick Wood as well. So Nick Wood only about 4/10 or so behind Moroz. So actually a little bit further behind there as well. I think that is Glenn Boyd with Damien Seeger and behind it is actually slightly confused there. I forgot that Damien Seeger and Moroz were both running a very similar livery there, so I almost thought we were seeing a replay. Just see Lee Harrison there off in the foreground, so Lee Harrison having a pretty lonely race there at the moment. He's got one car about 5 seconds in front, and these two here about 3 seconds or so behind.
It's got Jesse White-Carrig here. And I think Ashley Norman has gotten back around. Remember, these two were very close when Ashley Norman spun a while back. Now, I think Norman's closed that gap, gotten past. Carrig. What's the opposite of defending? Is that, oh, I bet you can get a slowdown that far out there.
He was almost off to the Foresters of Belgium there, so he was well and truly wide. You could tell that he was also taking that chicane quite slowly as well, so that's given Ashley Norman that little bit of an upper hand there. Gee, Jack Boyd closing that gap back down on Brenton Hobson to about 0.2 of a second there now, so potentially might even see Boyd just sitting in behind here at the moment. He's not getting too aggressive there at the moment. We do still have quite a bit of time to go here. We're only, I have to say, 10 laps in so far, still 15 or so to go.
Got Hobby having made his pit stop, now catching and passing Jamie Walker. So, yeah, obviously, this is critical laps for Hobby, because you remember he was sort of battling around Damien Seeger and Glenn Boyd and Wayne Losh inside that top 10. He's got to match or be better than their pace. These guys here, as they're battling, if that undercut and that earlier pit stop is going to work, might need to scroll a long way on his relative box to see some drivers that are a minute further up the road, but they're who he's really battling, and those guys should keep in mind that Andrew Hobby is one of the drivers that they are battling with once all the pit stop strategy works through. There's going to be no pit stop strategy just yet from the top 5, as again, it seems like their plan is to go long And I'd probably, just with my gut instinct and my intuition, back that, because big lap here, they've got a lot of clear track in front of them, no lap traffic, nothing like that. Any of these top 5 pit now, they're going to be back with, just in front of Andrew Hobby, with Bard Rodkin and Jesse White, Carrigan, Ashley Norman, and other cars there. It would make it difficult for them if they pitted early and put themselves in traffic.
Yeah,
Good run up the hill from Boyd, and we saw a spin from, whom was that?
I think that was Anthony Connors there. I did see a McLaren spin there on that final chicane. Seeing a bit of a hanging mirror there at the moment. I think it was just that chicane before that we saw him. We are cutting to a VRS replay. Oh, just touching that grass ever so slightly. Oh, wow, very unlucky there. I think that might have been Mark Foster, so he probably wasn't expecting a flying McLaren into the side of him.
I'm pretty sure that happened in F3 one year. Yeah, you can see Connors gets some of the grass and then spears across and takes Mark Foster with him a bit.
Yeah, potentially if Mark Foster can maybe gun it. We did see it did rip a wheel off there, so if you can maybe limp it in through the pits, you won't have to worry about taking that tow hook, not lose too much time on top of what he already has there. But at the front of the field there, Jack Boyd on the back there of Brenton Hobson in there at the moment. You just see that gap there from Moz, so you have to say there from Moz. It is about 1.3 seconds, 1.2 seconds between them. So, and Moz will have his McLaren mirror will be filled with Porsche of Nick Wood, who's 2 tenths behind him.
Yeah, pretty much the first time into race, a gap from the top 2 to the rest just starting to form. Now, it could close very quickly. We've seen that happen before if Hobson and Boyd begin to fight a little bit here. They're not going to do the bus stop this time, but they had done it before. Glenn Boyd here behind Seeger. Wayne Losh in this little battle as well. Different lines, different levels of attack on the curb as well. That sets Glenn Boyd up to be in a spot to keep putting pressure on.
Yeah, almost thought Glenn Boyd was going to miss the apex completely there. He did go very, very deep on the brakes there, and you can see this corner as well. So many different lines taken. You often quite see people will set themselves up there for that little chicane beforehand there, and then will either take a really wide or inside line there and try to cut over. But we're just seeing Anthony Connors into the pits now. He actually, I think when he had that accident there with Mark Foster, he was actually too far past that pit entry road, so it looks like he's actually had to do a lap with that damage.
Yeah, he kept going into the first opportunity. He's had to pit, I think. Mark Foster definitely towed. Couldn't drive that thing with no drive. That sounds a bit redundant to say, but that's what happened.
Definitely only one-wheel drive there as well, and with this
At that
damaged model as well, it does drag the rear wheel, so it's not something like a wheel had gone completely. You just kind of skid all the way back. So seeing Damien Seeger there though, under a lot of pressure there by Glenn Boyd.
Certainly looks very similar to a lap ago. Losh keeping with them. Glenn Boyd trying to attack Seeger potentially. And about to be at the halfway point of the race, and I wonder if any drivers are going to see that as their sign to pits. It's Anthony Connors, who eventually made it around to his pit box. Longer service than what we saw for Hobby. 23 seconds for Hobby, and this is still ongoing for Connors.
Yeah, no sign of movement there at all. So possibly getting, oh, there we go. Did just come off the Jack Sen, so I was thinking maybe that was actually taking that damage there. And then
Split for the strategy at the lead here. Brenton Hobson carries on in the lead of the race. Jack Boyd is going to pit. And who's going to follow him in. No one else from the top 5. Moroz, Wood, and Mulqueen continue. Jack Boyd is going for the pit stop at the halfway point of this race.
Yeah, and we're just seeing there the other car there from Boyd Racing is also Glenn Boyd. I'm sure these two were chatting while racing there, so Glenn Boyd taking that same strategy as well.
Might have raised it over dinner or something.
And you pass the potatoes, and we're going to pit at lap lap 13.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Lee Harrison's also in as well. So he had broken free of Damien Seeger and Wayne Losh. So he's got to have a good pit stop if he's going to stay ahead of them. And also of Glenn Boyd, who's just about 6 seconds behind him in the pit lane.
We have hit actually our halfway point. So yeah, many of these cars are, sorry, for Lee Harrison as well. So choosing to pit smack bang on that halfway point. You'd have to say there for potentially the cars like Andrew Hobby choosing to pit so early on, that might be a bit more troublesome with that tyre degradation.
Quickest stop we've seen so far in this race is 16 seconds for Jack Boyd right now. He's going to have to be careful on the narrow pit exit, and then when he arrives at the first corner later on, what kind of cold tyres he might have going on. If anything, it looks like the car bounced a lot more than I would have expected there. So the car's going to behave quite differently than it did on his in-lap. It's going to adjust to that, but can't give up too much time. Lee Harrison's stop is still ongoing. Glenn Boyd's stop is still ongoing. The car for Lee Harrison is down off the jacks, but still being held. So I think that might be a penalty. Glenn Boyd's going now. It'd be the most Lee Harrison thing to have ever happened if he was speeding on pit lane.
Oh, either that or maybe he's fueling up to go for a drive afterwards or something and not chosen his fuel correctly, but he has been sitting there for quite a while. Over 2 minutes now for Lee Harrison.
Is Jamie Walker. First time into the pit lane. And now for his pit stop as well. So that brings us closer to 8, 9 cars that have pitted now that Brenton Hobson's doing it. Nick Wood, Damon Mulqueen are in. Moroz carries on. But everyone else from that top 5 pack have had to react to the stop for Jack Boyd. Just got Damien Seeger coming in. So a popular thing to do as we look at Lee Harrison. I think he's walked away from that sim rig because that wheel was twitching like it wouldn't if your hands were on it.
It was almost a walk away as we saw last week there. We cut to his stream before he wasn't even sitting in there, but he's definitely does look like he's back out there now and has rejoined there, but it's like 2 minutes 48 in the rain, so almost feeling like an eternity.
Yep. So he's back out, but that'll basically, near enough close to put him a lap down to... Is he a lap down to Jack Boyd?
Well, we did see that leading group there come in as well, so potentially Lee might have just got away.
So 15-second pit stops for Brenton Hobson and Damon Mulqueen, and they are going to come out and rejoin very, very close to Jack Boyd. How's his outlap been on the cold tyres? He's going to have a lot more speed than his BMWs, putting the power down. So Hobson still just in front of Jack Boyd. Damon Mulqueen a little bit further back. Boyd going to strike while the iron is hot here. Is he going to take a look? It's just not close enough. Hobson will hold on to the net race lead, squirming around on the outlap on cold tyres here. Could still give it up.
We're just seeing...
Very defensive here from Brenton Hobson. Jack Boyd tried to have a dig down the inside at Rivage. Hobson, very wise to it, just parked the BMW on the inside line, and Boyd wasn't able to get down the inside, but still came in its element to try to battle for the race win right here.
I think that is actually Jamie Walker there, just off in that background as well, so very fortunate there to get out of the way of those two. Powering through there, I think that is Damon Mulqueen getting around Amy Walker as well.
So we've got just 5 cars now that haven't stopped. Moroz in the lead, has gone around for another lap as well, so not short on fuel there. Wayne Losh in the McLaren is going to stop. Sonny Kanchan is trying to go long to maybe come back towards this lead battle. Boyd side by side with Hobson. Hobson will have the inside for Blanchimont. The BMW power will start pulling strong here in 5th gear. The speed for the Cayman through a fast corner around the outside. He's ages off the track. Is he going to be allowed to hold on to that pass? Down the inside, he's on the brakes early. I think if you go that far, it might be a slowdown, or he just has given that one up to avoid the ire of the stewards.
Yeah, absolutely. They're sure they'll all be watching quite keenly there as well. He is giving a little bit more gap there, so not too sure how much of a penalty that might have been for it all there, but he is back on it there at the moment. We did see a McLaren there turned around. That is Greg Holmes having all kinds of difficulty. Did see him there with a really long pit stop as well, so he might have taken on some damage earlier on. I think it was about 1:39 in the pits, so just going to have a look here in that Xtreem Air Conditioning McLaren.
Rhea says no, that wasn't his out lap, but it was his first flying lap after the pit stop, and I guess by the time he might have taken 4 tyres as well. I don't think there was any sign that Moroz was close enough there. Here's Kanchan, who hasn't stopped. Moroz hasn't stopped. Ashley Norman is on the pit lane now, so all bar those two. The real battle for the lead, though, is taking place between Hobson and Boyd, and if they keep slowing each other down, then this overcut for Moroz could work if he gets a really good pit lane time, a really good stop time as well. And I'll say the last lap time for Moroz was 2:29.7. It was 2:30.2 for Jack Boyd.
Yeah, so around about that 37 seconds or so. So we'd have to say there, Moroz will have to have an absolute blinder of a pit stop to try and stay in contact with these two at the moment, even though that there have been getting the elbows out a little bit there. You can see Jack Boyd just slotting in behind at the moment, coming around there as well. So both of these two will be exactly equal there on tyres as well. So both of them, sorry, actually, no, Jack Boyd did pit a couple of laps early, I think, or a lap early. So not too much of an advantage there to Hobson. Taking a lot of curb there. Jack Boyd definitely careful not to run it wide like he did the lap previous.
And then carries that speed through Blanchimont to try to get to the inside. Hobson won't give it up at the second apex. And Jack Boyd will try to cut back underneath him. The side-by-side once again. Moroz still doesn't pit. And the gap between him and this battling pair starts to increase a little bit. Hobson even going to be able to back up Jack Boyd towards Damon Mulqueen potentially.
Yeah, these two are really going at it. Hammer and tongue there. You'd have to say there for Hobson there took a very, very shallow line there. You can actually see the taillights of Jack Boyd coming on as he was coming down the hill, so not wanting to go back in there at the moment, but these two
Jack Boyd going to have a slowdown, huge cut at the top of the hill, and he does. It is a slowdown for Jack Boyd, too aggressive through Eau Rouge Radion, and that might be what brings Damon Mulqueen back into the picture potentially as well. Moroz won't know that that's what's going on, but it helps him too in his battle to try to overcut Hobson, Boyd, and Mulqueen.
You'd have to say there for Boyd, just so aggressive there when it comes to the curbing, and definitely between these two, asides from that that solo lap that Hobson had, this is the biggest gap between Boyd and as we just saw that Mulqueen just going very wide there, but that is the biggest gap that we've seen between those two that in the race so far.
Nick Wood, we didn't really touch on, had a kind of long stop at the same time that Hobson and Mulqueen and others pitted, and that's put him out of contention here. You know, he was part of that top 5 battle we were really focusing on, and yeah, actually, I reckon that long stop might even put him behind Kanchan as well.
I'd have to say they're definitely getting his feet wet in this series, so haven't seen too much of Nick Wood in some of our previous MX5 series, but he's absolutely holding his own, you'd have to say, especially with the level of drivers that we've been seeing in these GT4 races to do as well as he's doing there. Even in that 6th position here at the moment, you'd have to be pretty happy with that.
So 24 laps, we've had 16 of them. It's just the final third of the race to go, and almost everyone has made their pit stop, bar Moz Moroz and Sonny Kanchan. The last lap for Kanchan, a 228.9, made him the fastest guy out on track there. In fact, he's closing that gap to Moroz and having a, well, relatively successful attempt at overcutting, if not Hobson and Jack Boyd, the likes of Damon Mulqueen and Nick Wood. A podium could still very much be on here for Kanchan if he can hold that kind of pace and get a good pit stop. Both of those are pretty big if, given the variation in pit lane times that we've seen, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'd have to say there for Kanchan being a pretty lonely position out there. Just chipping away those laps there, it might get a bit tricky sometimes maintaining focus because, yeah, we are going for quite a long period of time there. Just having a look at that is
Mulqueen.
24, so flying that synergy flag alongside Brett and Hobson. The BMWs just look amazing in the synergy JK Signs livery. Looks quite at home there in the Belgian countryside. Witnessing Andrew Hobby in the pits again.
That's been somewhere. Not anywhere great, judging by the front right and the front left. But for Andrew Hobby, that's his 2nd time on the pit lane. So I am going to hazard a guess. Things have not gone great for him. The car's clean at the bottom of Over Rouge Radion. At the top, catches a curb the wrong way, flicks one way, flicks the other, He's met the wall fully like 400 meters after the corner there.
Yeah, that was almost a tank slapper that lasted the whole of the Camel Straight there. So you have to say there for Hobby.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 actually it's Radion, okay. And then the wall. I mean, that would have been, wow.
He almost thought he might have been out of that by the as he came around. Or maybe he survived that tank. There would have been an amazing save there, especially on one of the fastest parts of the circuit. But unfortunately, copped a bit of Porsche-itis there, I think. Perhaps more of the rear engine ones had a bit of a known history of a tank slapper with that engine all the way behind the rear axle, but with the Cayman obviously not as much being mid-engined. Still not immune for a big old tank slapper.
Might pull out Google Earth later and measure how far that piece of Armco is from the curb that unsettled the car, and you could tell, you know, it was in a mean slide one way, and then once it gripped up and went the other way and then the other, the pendulum was swinging one way, swinging the other, swinging the other. Really, you can't help but feel for that, you know.
You'd have to give us that measurement in football fields. It's always supposed to be the way that when the news or something describes something in length, they go, I'm going to use kilometres or miles, we'll just tell how long in football fields are. I would have to say it's probably about at least 4 or 5.
Cover me, I'm on the task.
As here we are with Jack Boyd there as well. So we did see that gap at that was 3.5 seconds there when Boyd did have that big slowdown. He has actually brought it down by about a second there to about 2.5 seconds. Still about 6 laps to go here at the moment. So about, say about 12 minutes or so. Just having a look there. Always seems to, when we have a look at these laps here, every driver seems to have 2 good ones and then one that's always about 6/10 off there. Brent Hobson, no different there. You can see that he's
So Moroz and Kanchan in the pits, pretty close between those two as well. A really good stop for either would put them close to Hobson and Jack Boyd. A pretty good stop for either might put them in front of Mulqueen, and then there's another 20 seconds for them to slot into between Mulqueen and Nick Wood. So are they battling for a podium? Are they battling for a spot inside the top 10 for Kanchan? It'd be very good to appear inside of the top 5. He drops down off to Jackson. He's rolling, so not bad from Moroz and Kanchan, but you can see Hobson and Jack Boyd already making their way at speed through Eau Rouge, through Radion. Moroz isn't going to be too far behind. Kanchan is going to be pretty close to Damon Mulqueen, so Mulqueen could even end up, well, he's in 4th right now, could yet end up in 5th if Kanchan can find some strong pace. Kanchan flashes the headlights and says, half an hour, and I'm still just out of the slipstream of you guys.
You'd have to hand it to Moroz as well there. Out in front, actually was keeping that pace well in the details. You can actually see Moroz there out in front of Mulqueen, but actually about 6/10 separating these two at the moment. So Moroz is actually going to have quite a bit of a task there on his hands there. Gee, Jack Boyd going really, really wide there. I'm not too. You definitely would have picked up an incident point, possibly not a slowdown there. On board with Mulqueen at the moment.
It's, by my rough estimation here, based on where that DRS board is on the Kemmel Straight, 474 meters from the curb at the top of Radion to around Kemmel Corner and on the right hand side at the DRS activation line, which is 1,555 feet, 18,664 inches, or 0.26 nautical miles.
That's right. He was definitely setting sail and spinning around there. You'd have to say there wouldn't be much tyres left after the big black marks that he left there.
He was adrift in a current, I think.
The skid marks left on the ground and probably in his pants as well as he span out at high speed there at the moment. Gee, Boyd again closing that gap there. Actually closed the gap down quite well. As we were saying there, as before, 2.5 seconds there, down to 1.2 seconds. So he's actually reeling in Brent Hobson in a fast rate of knots here at the moment.
Exactly what we saw out of race 2 at Barcelona. Good stop from Hobson, and then Jack Boyd closing down in the final couple of laps. Well, I think Boyd's even closer now than he was then. The battle is heating up for third as well. Mulqueen still making Moroz on cold tyres squirm. And Kanchan, Sonny Kanchan, doing everything he can to try to catch, to try to battle these guys in the top 5. It's all he's wanted to do for the last 45 minutes.
Yeah, he just wanted to have a bit of a play, but unfortunately hung out again at lunchtime. I was trying to think of a good lunchtime analogy there. Beautiful static shots as well. Oh, right over the top. Very good shot there. You can actually see that physical distance from those two cars in front there to Kanchan, all on his lonesome. But be careful what you wish for if Moroz and Mulqueen start getting the elbows out, that will slow him down quite a lot. Just actually have
1.2 between the leaders, not much between third and fourth here. Kanchan, I bet, willing them to fight.
Yeah, absolutely. It took the words right out of my mouth there. We are seeing that gap there between Boyd and Hobson. Sorry, just off screen here. Still around that 1.2, 1.3 second mark. So you have to say there for Boyd, does have to run that gap down. You can actually see this is where you actually see that time coming down here now. That Porsche just a little bit more stable around these fast corners here. Actually, cruise about 2/10 or so. To Hobson. Oh, runs it super, super wide there. You can see just how quick they're going. About 230 kilometers through that section.
Got Bard Rodkin just up in front of them here. Could help Brenton Hobson. Could not. We are going to see he's very aware of the approaching leaders towards La Source. Hobson through Boyd. A little close, closer than you'd want. I don't think you're quite going to scare Jack Boyd. He still stays very close to the lead. You see third and fourth and fifth through as well.
Actually see there a bit of a break there as we see I think that Rockin coming through on Roche. So it's trying to, I keep saying it a different way every time there, but eventually we'll get there.
So plenty of flashing the headlights going on there. Jack Boyd, as he tries to pursue Brendan Hobson, who'd get given a black and white flag if he was Max Verstappen. And Kanchan, I don't know what he thinks he's achieving by flashing the headlights from fifth there, other than, you know, letting them know he exists, which I'm sure Moroz and Mulqueen were already very well aware of. Boyd, within that second, not within the track limits so much, he's pushing hard with the laps counting down. 3 to go when they get to the line. He's got to get there, he's got to get past, and he's got to stay ahead. That straight line speed advantage that the BMW does seem to have, particularly on the Kemmel Straight. It seems like once the Porsche goes to 6th gear, that 6th is just a little bit too tall. Meanwhile, at those speeds of 230, 240 kilometers an hour, the BMW with its turbocharged engine is right in the sweet spot of its 5th gear. And that's where, not, you know, initially down the straight, but past 220 kilometers an hour or so, the BMW keeps pulling when the Porsche runs out of puff.
Yeah, you can just see Moz Moroz there going, actually just off camera there, going super, super wide. I don't think he slow down. See, he's got Mark Carter and Bud Rocky in front. But I'm going to look at these front two here out of the gap. Now down to around 4/10 there at the moment, so there only has to be a couple more tenths there, and Jack Boyd is actually going to be in a position to put an attack here. He's actually really competitive around this section of the track there, so down to 3/10 now. So we'll be very much looking at putting up an attack there. Is actually just off screen there. We've just had Bard spin out.
Yeah, and so I think Moroz and Mulqueen had just gotten past Rodkin, and while he was spun, Sonny Kanchan came through, so I don't know if it interfered with any of those. Oh, here he is between Moroz and Mulqueen. And on the exit, is it a case of too much curb-itis? I don't know what that was.
Yeah, potentially that or a bit too much throttle there. A little bit unsettled. So
Leaders side by side. Jack Boyd managed to keep within track limits at Eau Rouge and Radion, but not have enough speed to get around Brenton Hobson. But he is right back where he spent a lot of the first half of this race at that BMW M4 rear bumper. Just trying to make Hobson think that he wants to get down the inside here and then backing out of it. This is going to be a very interesting last couple of laps. A little more traffic coming up, but it'll be Greg Holmes, I think, in the McLaren.
Is Greg Holmes there. You can actually see that line that Jack Boyd takes. He always seems to run it so wide out of that chicane there at the moment. So you can actually see Hobson is usually a little bit stronger around this part of the track. We will see Jack Boyd though is usually around that start-finish line, around that first part of the circuit there is where he really comes into his own.
Looking good through this sector at the moment. Always seems to fare pretty well, I think, towards Blanchimont. One thing I noticed through qualifying is he actually holds fourth gear all the way to Blanchimont. So maybe he does well there. Actually, Norman, I saw, went for a loop at the end of the lap at the bus stop. I don't quite know whom he was battling at the time.
Yeah, I did see that damage there on that.
It
Side
was
of the
already
cut.
a lot of damage.
Oh, very lucky there not to take out the back there. I think that was actually, was that Mark Foster there?
Nah, Losh. It was a blue McLaren.
That's it. Wayne Losh, who also I think was the unlucky bystander the first time around with, wasn't it another Porsche come across the inside of the circuit? I can't remember there at the start of the race.
Foster got
Uh,
by Collins.
yeah, sorry, you are right there. Yeah, it was Foster I was thinking of.
2 laps to go at the lead here. A little bit of breathing room, but not much for Brenton Hobson. He's weaving down the Kemmel Straight one way, then another, then another, then another. He's got one more weave left in him before they get to the end of the straight. Jack Boyd's having none of that. He's actually closing regardless. And now into the middle sector where definitely I think Boyd will be pretty strong. Similar story for third and fourth. Moroz having to try to fend off Mulqueen. See how close they are as well. Sonny Kanchan is 2 seconds back, begging for a fight for third.
Absolutely. So he has done a pretty good job of pulling those two in. Saw Nick Wood there with a pretty quiet drive there in that 6th place. Still pretty strong knowing that he did start around, I think it was either 2nd or 3rd, so he's down 4 positions from his qualifying result.
I sense Kanchan getting quite a bit closer here. 1.5 seconds behind Mulqueen. 1.3 seconds behind Mulqueen as Mulqueen has to try to battle with Moroz. Moroz was well off the line and off the speed there, and look at how aggressive Kanchan is still throwing that thing around, using all of the track limit. He is in the battle now. 3-way fight for third, and that slipstream is really going to help his Porsche.
Yeah, absolutely, and also 3 manufacturers all fighting for that last podium position. So good to see all kinds of manufacturers getting in that mix there as well. So
White flag will be waiting for Brenton Hobson and Jack Boyd as they've got one more 7-kilometre lap of Circuit Spa-Francorchamps to battle it out for the win. Boyd went 3 from 3 in the first 3 races and then was finally defeated race 2 last week. Mulqueen has gone around and now Moroz and Kanchan are up into 3rd and 4th, and it's still oh so close for the lead.
also Anthony Connors off the track, but we will try and see if we can cut to a replay. Oh, yeah, we might have to wait till a little bit later on there. Jack Boyd is probably the closest we've seen him this time around there. Less than
This is his #1 opportunity to try to take the win as well. Last time on the Kemmel Straight, he just starts to run out of puff at the end here. Hobson still down the inside, still with his nose in front, but Boyd's been strong around the outside there before, and they're going to make contact. Boyd, shortcuts across the track. That's going to be a slowdown. Did Hobson edge him out there? Did Boyd really have space to keep his nose in? I wonder. A little bit of contact on the final lap in the battle for the lead.
Yeah, I'd have to say there for Boyd, just checking that steering there for potential damage. He hasn't seemed to have backed off yet, but surely he would have got a fair old slowdown. Yeah, so we are catching a VRS replay. If there was a little bump there, I think it's just the slightest of slight bumps there from that rear bar of Brenton Hobson on Jack Boyd.
Moroz and Kanchan also close, so who stands on the podium and in what order? Absolutely not decided yet. I I think I smell some sends happening at the bus stop potentially at the end of the final lap. Hobson and Boyd, it is not over yet for the lead, and here Moroz struggling on the tyres like he has several times, how Mulqueen initially got through a section that is really good for Kanchan, looking down the inside super late on the last lap here, and he is going to get up into third. Moroz just not able to make that thing turn. You've got Lee Harrison, I think, going slow. Yeah, it's Lee Harrison, and he's let the leaders through. Is Boyd close enough for a lunge on the final lap? He's not particularly close. Hobson has half a second to bring this thing home. The checkered flag's going to be waiting for him out of the bus stop, and it'll be his second consecutive win as he wins in Xtreem GT4, the Enduro round at Spa. Boyd right behind him, and Kanchan breaking free of Moroz, whose pace has deteriorated big time at the end. Kanchan gets a podium that he had to work 55 minutes to get into place for.
Yeah, definitely paid off there for Kanchan. His persistence there with having to be out there on his own, just chipping those laps away, has definitely paid off there with Moroz. It looked like Moroz was having a real issue with his tyres there. Unfortunately, I just saw Damien Mulqueen as well. I think two races out of two, unfortunately, getting that hit, or something went wrong. We might have to have a bit of a check later on here. Catching up here, I think that is Damien Seeger there. Going to bring it home there for a top 10 position. He'll be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, indeed. Super exciting all the way to the end. That is Spa delivering how it does, keeps the battle packs close. And then strategy, well, it played to the advantage of Brenton Hobson, and almost let Sonny Kanchan close in a little bit as well. And a tough break for Nick Wood once he was out of that pack. Well, that's where it becomes a lot like stock car racing. You want to be part of that lead pack all the way through. Last cars on the lead lap are Jesse White-Carrig, Mark Foster, and Anthony Connors.
Yeah, that's right. So quite a few... Jesse White-Carrig almost being the quiet achiever there, starting from right near the back. So actually just seeing, I think that is Mark Foster there coming over the line. So he had a bit of luck there with a few, bit of unluck there with a few loose cars there out on the circuit there. But Jesse White-Carrig, our biggest gainer there with 6 positions up there from 15th place.
There we go. Anthony Connors still going to be the last car to the line, and he has crossed now. Yeah, your big winners from sort of deep in the pack. Jesse White-Carrig, definitely one of them. 15th to 9th. Mark Foster and Anthony Connors both pick up 2 spots, despite that big accident for Mark Foster as well. Let's look at the results now. Brenton Hobson, half a second ahead of Jack Boyd. Sonny Kanchan up into 3rd. Where has Moz Moroz disappeared to, as that looks like 35 seconds added to his time post-race puts Damon Mulqueen back up into 4th, Nick Wood into 5th, and Moroz 6th from Wayne Losh, Damien Seeger, Jesse White-Carrig, and Mark Foster, the top 10.
Yeah, we have just missing out on that top 10 there. We did have Anthony Connors having a pretty big accident earlier on there. Lee Harrison, a little bit of bad luck continues there in 12th position, down 5 places there. Greg Holmes, Bard Rodkin there, Jamie Walker, Ashley Norman in all kinds of dramas throughout the entire race there. And then our non-finishers there of Andrew Hobby, Glenn Boyd, and Glenn Boyd there being our 18th car rounding out the field.
Yeah, exactly. Super exciting in the top 10. Some close battles, especially in the first half of the race, all the way through. We've got some of our podium sitters standing by. So let's go to race winner, Brenton Hobson. And first off the bat, I've got to say, close all the way through. How did you see the end of the Kemmel Straight on the final lap?
Yeah, that was a bit awkward. We sort of fell over each other, which is a shame because it's not the way that we normally do it. And that's probably, I don't know, it's probably my fault. I may not have left enough room down there. I'm not sure, but I didn't actually sort of realize he was still had an overlap on the left-hand side, to be honest, but I haven't looked back at it yet. It was a bit awkward, but which is not how we tend to do it, which is a shame. But it was good fun. It was a great race. Jack was quick again, like he always is, and I wasn't sure if we'd be able to hold him off. And in the end, we did, but it was shaping up to be a pretty good final lap there.
Long straights and fast corners, I think, really, again, shows up the differences between the BMW and that Porsche Cayman.
Yeah. I mean, the fast tracks are probably better suited to the BMW for sure. I mean, compared to some of those tighter technical ones, but the middle to high speed corners are still really bad for this car. Like the Porsche was killing me through the center of the lap, and a couple of the faster left-handers and things there. It just very understeery, and the Beamer just doesn't like it, the high speed cornering. So although the straight line speed's not bad, it struggles a bit in those medium to high speed corners, which there's plenty of here. And the gearing in the thing is just awful. Coming up to the final corner, all the way up the hill up there, we were struggling. We're actually much slower than Jack in a straight line up the hill, I think because of the gearing in the BMW. So it wasn't all our way, but as far as tracks go, I mean, this is probably as good as it's going to get for the BMW, I'd say.
Well, 2 race wins in a row, still making sure that you fight there on the strategy. It was 5 cars in the top 5, and at that point, a bad pit stop is going to ruin your chances.
Yeah, and it's not an easy pit lane either. Like, it's a long one, but you've got a pretty awkward entry, and then you've got like this hellacious hairpin right in the middle, and it's pretty easy to get that wrong. So not the easiest pit transit either, on top of all the other challenge that comes with calling the right strategy. So it worked out how I wanted it to work out tonight. I wanted to overcut by a lap if I could, but I couldn't dictate that because I was in the lead most of the time. But I wanted the others to pit first, or Jack in particular to pit first, and have to do that outlap on the cold tyre. And I hope that it would give me the chance to at least stay with him, if not extend a gap, because I feel like if it was the other way around, my outlap wouldn't have been strong enough to stay with him, and he probably would have undercut me, and I may never have got that back. I think his one lap speed, like usual, was too good. I just had to put myself in position to be with him to give myself a chance. So the strategy went the way that I wanted it to go this week, but yeah, it just sort of all worked out, really, I think.
How track limits in qualifying? You took pole, but it looked like Jack might have had a quicker lap that was disallowed.
I guarantee he would have. My pole lap was not actually that good. I had one really good sector, and the rest were pretty bad. But you have to keep it inside the white line. So I had an off track on my first lap, so I didn't have a banker, which meant that I had to sort of take it a little bit easy on the second one. Whereas he obviously overstepped on his second one. I'm sure he would have gone pole for sure if he had have kept it between the lines. But I was just wanting to be near the front. I was worried that I'd have a bad lap and have to pass too many cars. And Jack is the sort of guy, even on a track so draft dependent, that he can sort of sneak away off the front and you'll never get him back. So I just wanted to make sure that I was near the front at the start. I was surprised to be on pole, but I would have been happy just in the front 2 rows.
Exciting stuff as always. Thanks for stopping by and chatting with us, and congratulations on a race and round win.
Yeah, thanks guys. We'll see you all next week.
Great to have Brenton Hobson, a race winner, stop by. Don't seem to have anyone else from the podium. I know Jack Boyd and Sonny Canchin know where to find us. We've had them before, but what a strong drive from both of them as well, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. It's across the board there. It's always it's a bit tricky there with this kind of format. Long distance really favors that consistency. You'd have to say there for Sonny Canchin, especially starting a little bit further back than what he'd like there in that 5th place. It really well, actually, sorry, no, he was 6th. So really shows how much that consistency. Try and keep that nose clean and really try and be consistent on the lap times, and it can really pay dividends.
So I think 60-minute race here at Spa-Francorchamps, delivering what we would have expected in Xtreem GT4. That is some strategy, some real battle packs and a slipstream, keeping some of our top drivers together. And they delivered some racing. Thank you for joining us here on SimSpeed TV for Xtreem GT4. Next Monday, we're back again, and we'll see in this continuing battle, BMW versus Porsche versus McLaren, who can come out on top. Thank you to the supporters that make Xtreem GT4 possible. Xtreem Air Conditioning, Palmer's, Racelabs, Simworx, and he clicked away from it, so I can't remember the others. No, there's Wolfchester and is it Duo Trading?
Xtreem Air Conditioning, Duo Training, and Toyota Motorsports as part of Road America.
We've been through this before. I'm just Ron Burgundy. I just read what's in front of me as if I know what I'm talking about. Looking forward to seeing you next week here on SimSpeed TV for coverage. I've been David Haynes, Nick Scariev with me, and Fonty behind the scenes and on the production. What a delight. Looking forward to the same time next week.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
It's very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go.
Oh no!
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my god.
God, what?
Hey everyone, the USF 2000 is a blast to drive now, and here's your chance to learn it quickly. From my tutorial, VRS created a free bonus track guide for the Laguna Seca circuit, where you can learn exactly what I do in every corner to improve your lap times and get faster on track. You'll learn how to easily recognize brake markers, you'll find out which curbs to attack and which ones to avoid, you'll know when to use the full track and when a sequence of corners requires a compromise. And you'll learn how hard to brake and when to lift. The VRS Quick Reference track maps are available free to download and delivered each week to your inbox. The entire global MX5 series is available, as well as bonus maps like this one and many more. So if you're a new racer, or a veteran, or just anyone who wants to learn how to get faster sooner, the VRS track guides are for you. Just hit the link or button on screen and get yours today.